Hey everyone, John from Nintendo Life here, and today it's finally time to review Pokémon Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl for Nintendo Switch. But these are not my thoughts and opinions, as this review is written by Jordan Midler for NintendoLife.com. And without further ado, let's see if they're really brilliant or shining. It's always difficult to know how much of a game to change when you're remaking it, and that's certainly true when it comes to the insanely popular Pokémon series. Go too far, and you risk alienating the audience, as was evident with the enjoyable but somewhat simplified remakes of Pokémon Red and Blue with Let's Go Eevee and Let's Go Pikachu. But if you manage to combine the elements that have advanced the formula in the years since, then you can create some of the very best games in the franchise, as was the case with Heart Gold and Soul Silver on DS. Pokémon Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl falls somewhere in the middle, a pair of titles that offers a great opportunity to pick out some of the Sinnoh decks that's missing from the current mainline Sword and Shield games. But ultimately, this is an adventure you probably won't return to once you're done. There's a strange feeling of obligation to these remakes. Generation 1, 2 and 3 have all received stellar reimaginings, and Generation 4 felt like the odd one out. However, instead of a Game Freak Helm remake and love letter to the generation, ILCA, the studio handling Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl, has changed the art style, for the worse, and has failed to include many elements from the generation's best game, Pokémon Platinum. Pokémon Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl features a 3D chibi art style for their overworld, making all the characters look like emotionless Funko Pops. While battles have arguably never looked better, with some incredible arenas and backgrounds for your Pokémon to fight in, the overworld looks cheap in comparison. It also robs some NPCs who were intimidating and serious in the original 2D games of their tone completely. Why should we take this big antagonist seriously when he looks just as unthreatening as any other trainer? Now, every character in battle has a full-size model resembling the style adopted in Sword and Shield, and they uniformly look so much better than the chibi, toy-like models that cover the overworld. This really makes us wish they retained the overworld scale of the previous Switch game, rather than attempt to adapt the DS game to 3D in a very literal sense. While the art style underwhelms, the music, however, is excellent. The Sinnoh games were home to some of the best tracks in Pokémon history, and they've been lovingly remastered. There's a great atmosphere to the entire region. You really get a sense it's a lived-in environment built around the imposing Mount Coronet. In a smart move, during battles in the wild, you'll often see the shadow of Coronet looming in the background. This makes battles feel grounded in the world, rather than just some off-screen area. The core of the game is the same as it was 15 years ago. You're traveling from town to town, collecting badges, and trying to foil a plot to harness a legendary Pokémon. If you're tired of that formula, these games will do nothing to sway you. But there are some smart quality of life changes, including the new HM system. This means Surf, Fly, and other moves that were relegated to a lone Bidoof in your party are now handled by a Bidoof, but this time it will just appear when you need it. It no longer takes up a slot in your party. In a really disappointing step back for the franchise, Pokémon no longer spawn in the overworld in the wild. Instead, when you're walking the roads of Sinnoh, it's back to random encounters in the grass. We really hope the franchise had grown away from this, but unfortunately not. But where Pokémon do spawn in the overworld, however, is the all-new Grand Underground. The Grand Underground is a reimagining of the same system from the original games, wherein players could explore, mine for shards, and meet other players. But in Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl, it's been renovated with new biomes, which include roaming, wild Pokémon. This not only fixes a big problem of Gen 4, the lack of Fire-type Pokémon, but it also manages to include some of the Platinum decks that has been omitted from the main game. There is a slight issue though. The leveling system feels somewhat exploitable. As soon as we gained access to the Grand Underground, we began exploring the various biomes and came across two rare Pokémon. Well, rare when you consider how early in the game we were, Absol and Houndoom. These two powerful Pokémon were both just sitting there, 7 levels higher than the rest of our team. We managed to catch them, and for the next few gyms, we completely broke the level curve. Throw in the permanent, non-removable EXP share, and your team will be absolutely stacked the entire game. However, that issue aside, the ability to revisit the Grand Underground and hunt down new Pokémon is very enjoyable, especially as you can see them before battling, avoiding the incredible annoyance of random battles elsewhere in Sinnoh. The game runs well in both docked and undocked modes and looks very sharp on the shiny new Nintendo Switch OLED model. It's not pushing the limits of graphical fidelity by any means, but all the Pokémon models look nice, even if their static animations are pretty lifeless. Moves are nicely animated, and plenty of Pokémon have their own unique animated signature attack. And the framerate issues that plagued Sword and Shield in the later DS games are thankfully absent. Battling is a very smooth experience. The top-down perspective also mitigates the pop-in issues of recent titles, as the area which the player can see is generally just a few feet in any direction. These are not bad Pokémon games by any means, they're still perfectly enjoyable, but having sampled all the Pokémon remakes, these are the ones that feel most stuck in the past. When Heart Gold and Soul Silver came out, they became the definitive DS titles, arguably still the finest in the series. Pokémon Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl don't feel like they'll make anywhere near that level of impact. We also can't emphasize enough how much of a downgrade the chibi art style is compared to the pixel art of the originals. Not only does the game feel cheaper, but it ruins the design of the game's main antagonist. While some of the slower elements of the original games have been fixed and the Grand Underground makes up for the comparatively weak Pokédex, Pokémon Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl's new art style and a few other stumbles make this pair of games a somewhat disappointing retread of Generation 4. They're also very clearly in the shadow of the next game, Pokémon Legends Arceus. That looks like it'll take the series in a bold new direction, beyond the 20-year-old mechanics. If the goal of these remakes was to remain faithful to the original Gen 4 pair, we'd much rather they stick to the pixel art aesthetic. Aside from the Grand Underground and connectivity of recent games, there's very little reason to play Pokémon Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl over Pokémon Diamond and Pearl. We here at Nintendo Life give these Gen 4 remakes a 6 out of 10. Thank you for watching, and let us know your thoughts on the Gen 4 remakes in the comments below. And of course go to that subscribe button and get your Bidoof and use strength and just push it around. And we'll see you next time. Bye everyone.